Welcome to this Bynder webinar. We are delighted you could make it. The most exciting part of this webinar is the housekeeping. Okay, perhaps not. But we'd love for you to get the most out of your webinar experience with Bynder, so we've put together this short video for your viewing pleasure. Q&A, polls, surveys, resources, book a demo, request a trial, live, on demand, more webinars. There. How was that? Took us a while to become this creative. We're quite proud, actually. What? It was too fast? Okay then, let's recap. We want to hear your questions, and it doesn't matter whether you submit them during the live or on-demand version of this webinar. We'll see them either way. Just use the Q&A box which is already open on your screen. And just to reassure you, the questions you submit will be visible only to yourself and to the speakers. So ask away. Get involved in the webinar by taking our polls, thoughtfully placed throughout the webinar. We'll even share the results with you, anonymized of course. Liked what you saw? Or perhaps not? The short survey at the end of this webinar is the best place for constructive feedback. We can take it. Be honest. That way we can improve and give you more of what you're interested in. But why stop at the webinar? We have more resources like videos, white papers and case studies. Links to these can be found in the resources section, and we think you'll find something that you'll love. The good news is that we're recording this webinar, so come back and watch it again over a glass of wine or while walking the dog. On-demand webinars use the same URL and work just like the live version, although our speakers may be tucked up in bed after 9 PM. Sadly, we're coming to the end of this exciting part of the webinar. I know, but what can we do? But here's one more piece of good news. If you like what you see in this webinar, why not book yourself a demo for a one-to-one overview of the power of Bynder? Just click the Book a Demo button. Thank you for listening, and now, let's begin.
Hello and welcome to the Bynder Tech Webinar Series, where we'll be joined by our PIM partner Akeneo, discussing unlocking growth in the beauty and luxury industry by creating compelling, rich media product experiences with PIM and DAM. So over the next 30 minutes, we will cover the current business challenges in the beauty retail market, the evolution of the DAM and PIM ecosystem, why and how Bynder and DAM and Akeneo PIM help the beauty retail business excel in today's digital world. We'll then show a brief demo, review some case studies, and end out with a Q&A and inform you on how to contact us for more information. So today's speakers include representatives from the Bynder and Akeneo team. My name is Claudine Kidd. I'm a channel manager responsible for the UK and Ireland region in Bynder. We are a global leading SaaS DAM with 8 years experience in the industry, serving over 2,800 clients, 140 million assets for just over 1.4 million users. Hand over to my colleague Kate for her introduction next.
Thanks, Claudine. Hi, everyone. My name is Kate Ring. I'm a solutions consultant for Bynder, covering the EMEA region. I worked in the SaaS consultancy space for the last 7 years, so super excited to be involved in the Tech Series webinars today. And I'll pass to Joe from the Akeneo team.
Thanks for that, Kate. So I'm Joe. I'm a Technology and Alliance Partner Manager here at Akeneo, and I work with all of our ISVs and the ecosystem that the PIM touches throughout Northern Europe. Akeneo is a product experience management platform. We specialize in unlocking growth through anywhere that a customer can find a product in any locale and on any channel. And today we're going to give you some examples of that. So I'll hand over to my colleague Jonathan, who's in charge of our beauty vertical, to talk you through that.
Yeah, thanks for that, Joe. In charge of the beauty vertical, well, that by no means I'm vain, just as a caveat. So I've come from a digital transformation space, software delivery specifically, and before Akeneo, I've seen a lot around digital transformation, and now very keen to show you guys how the beauty industry is evolving with PIM, and also some of the challenges we're seeing and solving with it today.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jonathan. So to kick into the webinar content, we're going to start with just hearing from Akeneo on their expertise and experience on the challenges that the beauty industry are facing today, and particularly online. Back to you, Jonathan.
Fantastic. So one of the, if we take a look at a high level here, some of the big things is replicating in-store experience online. I'm going to touch on virtual reality and some of the technology, how that's enabling that at the moment. Giving consumers the confidence to try new products, building customer loyalty in non-physical locations, the regulations on ingredients. So people have obviously become very conscious recently of sustainability and also of less ingredients and being cautious of ingredients they should avoid. And of course, adopting new technologies and new channels. So let's start off with some emerging statistics from the beauty industry and what the actual impact of that is. In terms of the UK, the revenue for the beauty industry is currently forecast at 17.23 billion for 2022 and is expected to have 4% year-on-year growth to 2026. In terms of where the revenue is generated, it's really encouraging to see that already 40.5% of it is generated online. Yeah. And by 2026, it's forecast that skincare is going to be the largest segment, and that's from Euromonitor, with 181 billion global sales. In terms of what the biggest sector is in the UK at the moment, it's currently personal care, as illustrated in the data above. So we'll go on to the next slide. So one of the things, whenever we're talking about replicating in-store experience and I guess the complexity of that, one of the big utilization cases for that is around virtual reality. So to kind of give you an example of one of those at the moment, you have the ability to, for instance, for skin pigmentation, to be fit to actually check the pigmentation through VR of your skin and be fit to actually find makeup and skin solutions specific to the pigmentation and tone of your skin. But whenever we talk about already existing huge beauty companies such as L'Oreal, what they've actually aligned is their mission statement now moving from a beauty company to a technology company. As the power of AI grows, brands are utilizing it to give super personalized results. As we go from push to pull marketing, people want extremely personalized, tailored results. And Juniper Networks has forecast that the mixed reality commerce is going to grow from 9 billion, which is what it was in 2019, to 43 billion in just 2024. In terms of one of the big changes in recent years across many industries, but beauty particularly, is the role of sustainability and ethical beauty. So within the UK last year, 53% of men, 47% of women in the UK admitted that they frequently bought from sustainable brands. 61% of consumers have reduced their usage of single-use plastics. And from a brand retention and loyalty perspective, of course, it's always easier to retain and cheaper to retain customers than acquire new ones, as the age-old adage goes. But in the last year, 1/3 of consumers in the UK stopped purchasing certain brands because they felt they weren't ethical or sustainable. And this is just, yep. So in terms of omnichannel marketing and the future of e-commerce, some of the reasons behind why omnichannel marketing is the future of e-commerce is, first of all, in order to capture all of your markets, there's a lot of, for instance, many millennial demographics moving through with different consumption patterns to let's say older demographics who traditionally buy in store as opposed to online. You need to be fit to capture all of those target markets across all of your channels and offer them the same experience. Ensuring your products have accurate SKU data ensures that the unique product attributes we mentioned a moment about, the likes of having sustainable products, having specific ingredients, and when people are searching for those, it's really important that they are fit to be found by your SEO, and that's only available whenever you've got that content actually enriched on your website. The boundaries between offline and online are becoming increasingly blurred, with user touchpoints engaging online and offline across multiple devices. So I'm sure you've seen this yourselves, where you go and you see something online on maybe a beauty brand on their actual website. You might go in and test it out on store, and then you end up buying it on a completely different device. So you're using multiple touch points, both online and offline. And that seems to be the journey for a lot of consumers at the moment. So ensuring that, you know, you're mapped out across all those touch points and that they've got the same experience is extremely important. So on that, 74% of UK users have said that they've used multiple channels in the last year, and 66% of those said that they've used multiple devices when making a purchase in the last year. I think I'm passing on to Joe now.
Yeah, it's come to me to talk about one of the biggest challenges that we see in the industry, and definitely not the most exciting, but absolutely crucial, and a big use case that a lot of our customers come to us with for PIM. And that is the huge disparity in regulation of what can be and can't be included in beauty products in different locales. You know, an example being the FDA banned 12 agreements and 12 products because of ingredients in the US, whereas here in the EU there was 1,328. So huge differences. And it's a constant challenge for people to keep up to date with what they need to be doing and how they can be doing it. So by using a product information suite, a product experience suite, you can set rules that only export products when they meet the criteria for those locales and those channels. Therefore, if a certain ingredient is contained within the ingredients list, you wouldn't export it in a certain locale, for example. We're actually seeing the ingredients with becoming more and more important in the purchasing decision as well, not just because of regulation. You know, 60% of women that were surveyed by the brand Bioessence actually said that they would use a different brand if they found out that it contained unnatural ingredients or ingredients that cause harm to the environment. So they actually choose to display and go over the regulation and display ingredients that aren't included as opposed to the ones that are as well, as a way of actually marketing the product. That's where we sort of bring in the idea of assets and how they can be used as well to promote those ingredients that aren't included as well. Now, I've got to thank Bynder for the invite. So I want to talk about how we can use assets and product information to do some of the amazing things that Jonathan spoke about a few minutes ago. And one of those examples is Sephora, who use this app. They have this PWA, this progressive app, progressive web app. And what they can do there is they can utilize assets. So here you can see the actual image of the eyelash. They utilize the products, which you can see along the top. And then they're able to pair them with the actual consumer themselves to give them that same sort of experience that you would find in store online. I've recently looked for a pair of sunglasses, a pair of Ray-Bans. It's well worth trying their PWA out and their experience here as well. I'm going to Scotland, so I left those in the cart because the weather looks shocking. But more and more brands are adopting these sorts of tactics where they're bringing in assets, product information, and utilizing that with new front-end tools as well. But it doesn't have to be this straight away. You don't have to go this far straight away. It can be as simple as using the PIM and using a DAM to break down the silos between your internal teams. And that might be social media teams and advertising teams that they create great media that really sell a product, but then aren't utilized online when you get to a product page. So again, if we take Sephora and the example of the video on the next slide, what you can see here is how they utilize flat imagery. They utilize contextual imagery of what this perfume should smell like, but then also they utilize the actual videos, the actual adverts themselves. So you can almost tell what this perfume smells like just from viewing the product page itself. And with that, I guess I'll hand over to the Bynder team to talk about how that rich media, how these videos, how all this imagery and AI can be important to a product journey and to a digital experience.
Brilliant, thank you, Joe. And I think, yeah, that's a great segue. Now you can kind of see that when looking at assets, it's not just the actual image of the product, but also images relating to a company brand, and then how you can combine those assets to then create content for things like campaigns. So I think this is a really good time to then bring in Kate and just answer the question on where and why a DAM is kind of needed in these kinds of situations. So over to you, Kate.
Perfect. Thanks, Claudine. So I guess the DAM is really your central repository for all of your content digital assets. Having that central repository enables consistent on-brand digital experience across all of your digital channels. So any digital channels that you're touching there, which we will get to a little further in the webinar. It also allows you to massively reduce spend on new content creation. So being able to reuse content that you've previously used in campaigns, product launches, for example, then allowing you to grow that volume of digital content as well, using the different automation that we can offer through the DAM and through the DAM and PIM integration. Having a DAM in place also allows you to enrich that data that you have in there, allowing you to report accurately on how successful campaigns are, for example, different content that different regions are using, different teams in different markets, for example, as well, using that analytics module that we have. I'm now going to pass back to Claudine, who's going to cover how the DAM has, I guess, evolved or changed over time.
Thanks, Kate. So I think it's clear that we're now in a digital first age. And this slide that you see is really a visual representation of the kind of 3 stages of that DAM evolution. So historically, DAM's been used as a on-premise solution, comprised mainly of server and file storage, IT procured, and technology-led. Incredibly complex to operate in the past and typically used for storing large raw file media, but not so much for the digital content that we know and consume today. So the introduction of software as a service, Binders pioneered and led the way from the first to the second wave, and marketeers have had more say in what technology have made up their stack, which means that everyone from chief marketing officers to designers, brand managers and marketing campaign managers began to use the Bynder platform to deliver content to an omni-channel audience. And if we fast forward to the last 12 to 18 months, we've seen an incredible shift in the importance of content and the way in which technology plays a part in that delivery. So this has been particularly due to things like the emergence of video, more automated content creation, and unfortunately, the post-COVID consumer economy. But also, digital transformation as a whole is really powering the third wave of the DAM market growth. And DAM is no longer just seen as a file storage tool, but also a content engine that's powering the digital experience. So it's allowing companies to create on-brand content at scale and distribute at scale also. And then lastly, Bynder's global strategic partnership with vendors such as SAP, Salesforce, and our partners today, Akeneo, really powered by our dynamic asset transformation service, DAT. And that really accelerates the lifecycle of all types of content creation and distribution, both to the omnichannel, the saving teams and organizations substantial time and money when representing thousands of content without compromising on quality. So I'll hand back over to Kate, where she can then kind of just give a bit more explanation on how our DAT service enables this. Oh, sorry, Kate, you're on mute, I think.
Sorry, I am. Thanks, Claudine. So as I mentioned earlier, the Bynder DAM on the left-hand side here being that system of record for all of your digital content, your visual content, all of your assets in there. And as Claudine mentioned, our dynamic asset transformation tool here, allowing you to deliver cropped, optimized assets to all of your different systems that you're using. Today, we'll be focusing on the PIM solutions. So dynamic asset transformation fully automates that delivery and optimization of responsive images for better digital experiences, whether this is your website, any e-commerce channels, any visual content that you have stored in the DAM, powers every customer touch point and ensures that automatic optimization of that imagery. So the width, height, file size, output format, quality, that can all be controlled using DAT. So the result basically, and I guess the ROI that lots of our customers are receiving from utilizing DAT, is a less time consuming manual edits, improved visitor experiences with more optimized website performance, and also a faster time to market as well. That kind of brings me on then to the different touch points, I guess, that you have for your visual content within that digital customer experience. So each channel stores their own images in multiple sizes, again, whether it's for web, mobile, social, and especially what we see with the PIM and e-commerce use cases, that you'll have multiple different content sizes. So it becomes practically impossible to control where your images are used, what images should expire. So having a DAM in place and having DAT essentially powers those transformations, ensuring that this can all be automated for you. On to the next one. So then just some business challenges, I guess, that we see before implementing a DAM. So digital experiences must be fast, consistent. You need them to be personalized, especially when we're moving to the more online e-commerce experience. You want it to be more impactful as well. So you're engaging your customers, you're making it more effective, and then in the long run, driving revenue for your business. So by combining creative automation, a powerful DAM system to power those visual assets, and also our latest integration capabilities with most systems across your market stack. We're really getting rid of all of these challenges that we see from a technology perspective, and also from a user perspective as well within the business. Just around our vision, I guess, before implementing a DAM, you'll see that lots of our customers would have like siloed solutions, having kind of assets stored in shared drives, local drives. They might be using lots of different systems that don't integrate together. So with our open integration strategy, it allows you to maximize the value of the technology already in place. So allowing you to seamlessly integrate with third-party applications and really streamline your processes and add that automation to your digital transformation as well. So this will be a kind of a good transition, I guess, to pass back to Claudine and Joe, who will give you a quick overview of how the Bynder and Akeneo integration works and the value that we see that our customers are getting from using that integration as well.
Cheers, thank you for that. So yeah, I mean, when we come to why you should connect a PIM and a DAM, and specifically Bynder and Akeneo, everything you've mentioned there is very, very, very aligned with what we do on the product information side. So there's a reason that Forrester have dubbed PIM and DAM the power couple, and I promised they did that, not us. You can go and check it out at the end, but the reason being is that ultimately the two systems are here and connected to help you sell better. So by having correct information, correct images in the correct format for each channel, to sell more by improving that time to market, by both having the single source of truth for information, single source of truth for images, automating the processes of connecting them and syndicating them out to the correct places. And then to sell anywhere, so to have them on the right channel, in the right locale, with the right languages, and the brand assets, all following the correct guidelines. Now we see managing information and manage images at scale becomes incredibly difficult when you do go global. So this connector allows you to have source of truths and records and data governance and practices and workflows to manage those and ultimately pull them together so that to stop teams working in silo. Just wanted to see if there's anything you wanted to add to that, Claudine, before we move on and show exactly how that's done.
No, I think that just summarised it really well. You know, PIM plus DAM seamlessly connects the digital assets and product data effectively. So you can increase the asset quality and consistency across all of your kind of products. And from the Bynder side, it's really able to enrich the Bynder assets with the product information. So things like the SKU, the product name, the product category, And then you can view in Bynder where the product images are being used as well. So you get that kind of full transparency on the life cycle of the assets between the two systems as well. We're just going to move on to next a 1 minute literally demo of an integration that one of our system integrator partners created on behalf of Akeneo and Bynder. Joe, do you want to give just a quick description? Because I don't think there's a kind of lot of commentary on what the audience will see.
Yeah, sure. It's pretty much exactly what you said. Both systems are designed to check quality, to enrich, and to make sure that information and assets are pushed correctly into the correct channels. Ultimately, to make sure that you get a consistent, scalable, and correct experience, whether you're looking at images or information across all of these channels. The connector ties the two together. So all of the imagery that you can use within Bynder can be pulled in as a public-facing URL into Akeneo. And then as long as the naming convention is correct, you can actually automate the sync of those images to the products automatically. We can then push them out to maybe Amazon, to print, to social, to e-commerce, in whatever format that you guys have passed it to us in correct for that channel.
Brilliant. So yeah, just on to the generic demo.
I think you might be on mute, Claudine.
Thanks, Kate. So, yeah, thanks. Just want to end off really on just showcasing some of the mutual clients that's actually utilising the Bynder DAM and Akeneo PIM. Joe, I know that I think you were speaking about one of your clients or one of the groups that was using our solutions together. Are there any others that you'd like to shout out while we have this opportunity?
I think it's just important to point out that brands are starting to recognise the need to do this. They've become both DAM and PIM have become best practice to use and to connect together. So for someone like a Caring, where they've got huge luxury brands, that video before trying to explain how to sell a fragrance, using every other sense apart from the nose, it's really, really important to take advantage of all the visuals you can do, make sure that things are correct and there's less chance to bounce in terms of accuracy of information as well. So yeah, I think, as you can see by some of the brands here, that any time that you need to move into this sort of space where you're having to take advantage of all the senses that you can't use traditionally, it's really important to utilize both of these technologies. Brilliant,
thanks, Joe. And then just to kind of summarise the main benefits of the Bynder and Akeneo partnership, so just as we've kind of been discussing over this webinar, this is really a combined solution that can centralise and organise all of your kind of digital assets across the business, product, campaign and brand assets. We can ensure updates to the assets, such as the product images, the SKU and all associated data, and they can be actually automatically updated and reflected across each of the different channels that you're representing your content to. The solution also ensures that you have safeguards for brand reputations with user rights and also approved content. And lastly, automating the processes by combining the DAM and PIM, again, saves time, money, and also enables resources to be reutilized in other areas of the business. So moving on just to the Q&A session. I'm just going to see if any questions have come up. Okay, so I've got a few questions. One that seems to come up quite frequently is, what is the price and time to implement a PIM versus DAM solution? So maybe if I throw the PIM aspect over to Joe and Jonathan first.
Joe, do you want to take that one away?
Sure, mate. Yeah. So, I mean, the price of a PIM is based with Akeneo on the number of SKUs and the numbers of users. It varies much from business to business. What we can say, I guess, is that we've got a number of different pricing levels within Akeneo. So, from completely free, a community version, right up to our enterprise edition. So, if you do want to find out more, I'm sure we'll have something to cater for you. Just get in touch with, for beauty specifically, Jonathan.
Yeah, I believe they also asked regards the implementation timeframe.
Correct, yeah.
So a PIM can take anywhere really from 4 weeks to several months, depending on the size of the project and the size of the client and the complexity of it. Depending on whether you're obviously going for, you know, one of the big trends that we're seeing at the moment is we're going through an entire re-platforming. And people will go for, let's say, a headless, where they're going for microservices, best of breed. And with that said, the implementation of the PIM specifically will often quite depend on where they're implementing within their tech stack, what components they're implementing before that. But the actual PIM themselves can be implemented in as little as 4 weeks.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jonathan. And same question over to you, Kate, on the price and time to implement a DAM system.
Yeah, so with the price, again, varies a lot from business to business in terms of how many users you want in there, the amount of storage you need there, and then if there's any additional modules there as well. So let's say DAT, that we've covered a bit about in today's webinar. So it can really vary there in terms of your requirements. So again, happy to discuss pricing in more detail if required. And then in terms of time to implement, probably the standard implementation for a DAM would be anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks. That's dependent on how your assets are currently structured. Do you have kind of like a set filter structure there so that we can mirror that? Also kind of the migration. So how many assets do you want to move across from, let's say, OneDrive or Dropbox? And then again, the kind of time and support that we get from the customer. So if we have a customer that comes to us and says we want the DAM implemented in 4 weeks, and they're happy to spend, let's say, 3 hours a week with us, that's definitely possible as well. So it really does vary on specific requirements, but anything from, let's say, a quick implementation might be 4 weeks to a standard implementation would be anything from 8 to 12 weeks.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kate. Another question that's come in a few times is, when should you start using a PIM with or instead of an e-commerce platform? So I think that one's directed more towards the Akeneo team.
Yeah, I can sort of take this because I work a lot with our e-commerce platforms partners. So it again varies from business to business. So the main challenges that a PIM is going to solve is if there's any sort of complexity in those products. So ingredients, of course, for beauty, the ability to manage swatches and what we would call reference entities to match colors, because you might have, you know, a lot of different tones that fall into the same sort of skin tone. So there's lots of different complexities within a product that could mean that it's time to use a PIM, and that can't be managed through the standard e-commerce platform. It can then be down to different locales. So how easily can you manage translations and locales? The PIM managed that really easily with over 126 locales in the back end. It can be due to conversion, so if there's a data quality issue, there's often no real ways to actually monitor the actual quality of the data entered. We have lots of tools in the back end of the PIM that can do that. And then time to market, so things like automating a lot of the manual tasks. So if you've got a lot of SKUs, being able to automate the process of getting those to market really, really quickly and easily, based on simple business rules, is something that we can really take care of. Anything else that you want to add to that at all, Jonathan?
Yeah, no, you've covered it all there. I think one thing I would say is that, in terms of achieving economies of scale, in terms of automating manual processes, typically what we see is that around an 80% reduction with Akeneo in the cost of creating a new SKU. So it's essentially a lot of organizations will use PIM to go and reutilize those workers into actually expanding the business, as opposed to just spending their sole time now on the product catalog.
Brilliant, thanks both. A question that kind of leads on maybe to some of what you guys have just described is what processes can you automate in a PIM and DAM connected system or solution?
So, Joe, do you want to take this, or Mike from the Akeneo side? I mean, one thing that you can automate is there's a lot of bulk actions. So if you think about what, PIM being a central repository, where, to give you an example, recently we've brought a large sport retailer online in Akeneo, and some of the restrictions they have is around geographical locations where they've got certain materials that aren't allowed in some locations. They are allowed in others where they're hazardous in specific countries and have to be flagged. So instead of having to go in and use, let's say, Excel sheets and manually look for those processes and products, what you can do is, in one click of a button from Central Repository in Akeneo, you can create a bulk action to flag all of those products across that entire geographical line. And then that's pushed out to your channels immediately. So your automation of all of your enrichment from one central repository to all of your channels saves them a massive amount of time. Obviously, you can automate a lot of the manual processes associated with the likes of translations, with the likes of currency conversions, different metric conversions, can all be automated. And there's an AI component as well within it that automatically, see certain things that need to be changed.
Yeah, I think as well with data quality, and images and assets can factor into that data quality score. You could only choose to export certain products to certain channels when they have the correct format of image, when they have the correct numbers of images, when they have a level where you would be happy to put that in front of a customer in store. So you can provide that good product experience. You can provide that unified experience across your channels. You can choose and monitor that quality and then only export it then. So you can automate everything from simple creation to, making sure that you provide your customers a good product experience wherever they find them.
Brilliant, thank you guys. And last question I have is, how can you access a demo or a more in-depth demo of the Akeneo and Bynder connector? Which I think will lead us quite nicely onto how to contact us. So if there are kind of queries and it's more leaning on needing a DAM, so you can connect to a PIM or vice versa. For the DAM side, please feel free to contact myself at claudinekid@bynder.com. And then Joe for the Akeneo side for any of the kind of PIM-related questions. After the webinar, anyone who's attended and any on-demand users can also request access to this presentation and the on-demand recording. We've also provided you access to a Bynder and Akeneo partnership overview document and a Forrester webinar, where they'll go into a little bit more detail into how PIM and DAM improves the omnichannel commerce and digital experience. So with that, we'll thank you for your time. We hope that you found this useful and enjoyed, and look forward to you seeing you again in one of our future sessions.